Hello. That's me. Lauren, you're doing a great job. Thank you for having all of us here and kind of uniting everybody together. And shout out to all of the artists here. Mama Duke, I see you. I see you, Mama Duke. And Heliga was there earlier, Tetro. So there's a lot of amazing talent here in the room, and there's also a lot of amazing leadership in business and technology. And these, I think, are some of the key things that have to be focused on for the future and sustainability of a creative path. My name is Zeale. I'm from Austin, Texas, born and raised. I've spent the last 6 years in the Sunshine State of California, Los Angeles. And I learned quite a bit out there working with brands, working in music, working with major festivals like Coachella, brands like Coca-Cola, international brands like Roland, based in Japan. So there's been a lot of really cool experiences that I've had that have educated me firsthand on what the capability of branding, or I should say, bringing together brands and artists can be, right? I think there's a big gap in knowledge when artists and creatives try to understand how can they sustain their careers, how can they get funding. Is it just record sales? Is it just shows? Is it just streams? And then outside of that, you know, what are the forums that you can make money in to support what you're doing? It's really hard to be an artist. Do my artists agree with that? Yes. Yeah, it's tough, right? And when you look at the landscape now, where there's also the additional technology of AI music and other platforms that you could argue are infringing on some of the creative fields that artists have been able to monetize in the past, it becomes a little overbearing. It becomes a little heavy. But fear not, there is a light. It might be Prosper XO. It might be Lauren's dress pattern. I don't know, but it's going to be wonderful. And I've learned a lot from working with Lauren in just the past few weeks. And what brought me and brought my interest to Prosper XO was specifically the point around data. I think a lot of people don't understand that our data is controlled outside of us. We don't own our own data, right? And when you look at Amazon or you look at other digital marketplaces that are able to scrape all of this information from us, it doesn't have to be your name or, you know, even your household, but they want to know your patterns, you know, what time of day you're making movements here or there, you know, what people are engaging, watching, are they on the internet or on their phone more, etc. All of these are really important data points when you put them together in one, and they make a profile, and we have no control over that profile, whether it's a civilian or it's an artist. I don't know why I said civilian. We're not in the military, but you get my point. We don't have ownership over that, and guess what? It's one of the highest grossing spaces right now. It is data brokering, right? It's being able to sell data that we should own, or at least have a say in how it's monetized on, or I don't know, maybe get cut in a little bit on that monetization of our own personal data. So where that lies in the space of artists is kind of what brought me to Prosper when I was explained the goal to be able to not only gather data for artists, but then allow them to harness and understand it, to read that data, and be able to pitch their value to other brands and other partners. That's the way to monetize. And I think it's beautiful. And so I appreciate you coming up with this, your team who's developing it, Mama Duke for sitting right up here in the front. Well, there's more chairs if anybody wants to come sit down. We'll give you free high fives if you want to come sit down over here. Yeah, it'll be better for the photos. That's right.
Can I ask you some of the questions, Z, too?
Sure. Yeah, I'll come sit down by you.
Okay. Awesome.
Let's get some warm bodies up here. There we go. Thank you guys. Okay. I'm done. Yeah.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I haven't been able to yet. But something I learned when I started really looking into Spotify and streaming platforms and the statistics around that was that Spotify had full ownership of artists' data, and what they use that for is to incur more revenue in partnership with sponsors and ads, and that trickles down to the labels that they're in partnership with, and it never reaches the artist. And so my thought process on that for Prosper was, you know, let's figure out a way to lead towards more ownership and understanding of our data for the artist, and let's build a system system where not only they can understand it, but they can use it in their favor to work with brands. And also there's a legal aspect, right? I think as artists, we have seen so many artists that are not protected, that get ghosted or not paid at a gig. And a big part of what we're doing too is providing a legal aspect that protects the artist. But thank you for mentioning the data point. So I did have some questions for Z, so you can get to know him a little more, because he's really just an incredible artist. So Zeale, can you paint us the moment you realized music was more than a hobby? Was there a single beat, crowd, or experience that flipped that switch for you?
I would say it's an ongoing experience. I think every time you create something and put it out into the world, it's cool to just have a manifestation of something that's in your mind. I think it kind of speaks to the power of humans being able to create and shift and change the world. And so I would say every birth of some new creation, whether that's music or a video concept, to me always, even to this day, astounds me, makes me excited to do what I do.
Was there someone in your life that helped you keep going with music? Like if other people didn't believe, or they told you it wasn't a sustainable career path? And if so, what did they say to you, and what stuck with you?
Yeah, there is one person I can point to in particular, and I've told this story before, but there's a good friend of mine. He passed away years ago, and he was a really huge supporter of what I was doing in the space of music. And at that time, I was just battle rapping, so I was just talking shit to people in different spaces. I was great at it, by the way. But
really good.
But in that process, he was the first one to actually ever get me to do a rap battle. I had zero confidence, but he knew I was good with words, and so he supported me, put me in that space. I won my first rap battle in high school or something, and that just continued to repeat through college. In college, I lost my friend Trey, but that. The last interaction I had with him, he was like, "Man, I'm really proud of you. I love what you're doing, and I want you to just keep doing exactly this." I didn't know that was the last time I would talk to him, but it was, and that stuck with me. And so to this day, I have a picture frame of this very crew-cut, interesting-looking teenage man who's named Trey, who loves to fly fish. And anytime I feel like I need some motivation, I just look over at that picture.
So your creative evolution is pretty impressive. How do you decide what ideas belong in the Zeale universe and which ones stay on the hard drive?
I used to be more precious about it, but now I don't decide. If I think it's valuable or worth making, I make it. I put it out there, and then the algorithm decides for me.
So can you walk us through your early brand sponsorship work? How did those relationships begin, and why do you think this lane can be a major revenue engine for independent artists and the industry at large?
Yeah, I think my first brand deal was probably with a liquor brand here in Austin. This is prior to moving out to LA. And shout out to Tequila 512 over there. Thank you guys so much. I don't drink anymore, so also shout out to the mocktail team. What's up?
Sage and Hollow.
So for me, it was a liquor brand, because there's a lot of those here in Texas. People like to party here, and so there's a wealth of those brands. And I don't think I really understood it then. I just saw it as, hey, I have overhead for this show. This will help offset some of this, so let's figure this out, right? I think it was as simple as a banner on stage or something. But when you look at the way that can scale on a much broader level for artists, the picture begins to get much bigger, and the opportunities for both the artists and brands get much larger, right? So you go from having a banner of a whiskey brand on stage to writing the song for the #1 beverage brand in the world for their World Cup commercial, right? There's a lot of value in that, and that's the type of value that seems very nebulous or difficult to navigate towards, because there's just not a lot of information, right?
The white space, yeah.
Yeah, it's a gray area, but I think clearing that up, can be done when people understand their data, when they understand their value, right? So if you have, for example, a concentrated community of people that, I don't know, really love cherry soda, and there's a brand that makes cherry soda, like, you may not have 1 million followers, but if you have 20,000 qualified cherry soda enthusiasts, then, you know, that's a valuable thing to them, right? So I think it's just understanding, like, how do I pitch this to the right people?
What's so incredible too about Austin, I don't know if you guys have seen this, just so many incredible local businesses and so many organizations that want to support artists, which is super inspiring. So Austin's music scene is legendary, but changing. What do you think are the biggest gaps or opportunities for artists to prosper locally?
That's a big question. I would say that Austin's been pretty solid in terms of working and connecting with artists and putting them in places to expose them more, to get them paid. To be honest, Mama Duke's probably the best example of this. She's like, yeah, you know I was going to call you out when you went to the snack table. She is probably, she's definitely one of my favorite creatives, if not, you know what, you are my favorite creative here in Austin right now, period. I'll tell you, I'll give you the flowers. You deserve them. She's, round of applause for Mama Duke. She's one of the most innovative, inspiring, and always consistently working in a productive manner with major brands. I mean, she works with Austin FC. You did a TED Talk.
What?
You did a TED Talk. And she works with, hotel brands and the city of Austin. Like, so there's so much that is already done here, and I would say it's probably leaps and bounds ahead of some of the other cities that I've been to or seen similar programs. So I do think here it's done really well. So in terms of where's there more opportunity, I think maybe that's a space that Prosper XO is kind of looking to fill, and that is just bridging more brands with more artists. I would say an exemplary program is the one that Austin FC does, and that features like Mama Duke, my good friend Gary Clark Jr., Maylot, like several other artists that have done a lot here in the city. So I think it's pretty good here. Yeah.
If you had to slap a warning label on today's music industry, what would it say? How could a community-built platform help protect emerging artists?
It would say AI is coming.
It's here.
It's here, absolutely. I guess what's one piece of advice you'd give to artists on balancing day jobs and creative careers? Oh, that's another statistic that came from the Austin census, that most artists work 2 to 3 day jobs to have an artistic career. So what piece of advice would you give an artist who's having to balance and also create?
Also a great question. I've struggled with that in the past, right? We've all had
Same,
to, we've had to find ways to like finance what we love. I don't know how to strike that balance exactly. What I can say is when you love something so much that it doesn't feel like work, when it feels like you're providing a service, not just to yourself, but to your community, to others, it makes the load a bit easier to carry. Also coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. And I think, it's very similar to a startup, or it's very similar to someone trying to do something phenomenal or amazing in life. You are going to bear a larger load than somebody who just does a standard lifestyle. But I think it's worth it. And I think as long as you're checking in with yourself, making sure mentally you're good, physically you're good, and also that you're constantly inspired, then it's worth it.
So last question, and I'd love for you to end on whatever you'd like to say. So fast forward 5 years, what changes do you hope to see in the music industry?
I think more transparency, more equity and fairness in compensation for artists. There's a big disparity between the people that make platforms to share music that do not make music, and the people that are actually in their home studios till 4 in the morning creating. A massive disparity. I would like to see that playing field more level. And I think it can happen. I know it can happen. But it takes conversations like this. It takes technology put into the hands of artists. And it takes an understanding of how do I position myself to compete at the highest level, not with other artists, but with big tech.
Amazing, Z. That was a lot of great information. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we open it up for questions, if anyone has questions?
I think that's it. I do want to say that mocktail was delicious. I don't know what you put in it, but it was savory and tangy. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Zeale? Oh.
Hi, for those who don't know me, my name is Audria, and I co-host, soon to host, a long-standing hip-hop program on Co-op called Hip Hop Hooray. And I am sitting here at the snack table because if you don't know, I'm disabled and I need access. So that is my pearl, to be a disabled creator and a disabled, community pillar. So I wanted to come to ask what the artists need from us as local journalists.
I think we can both answer. I think you can start. You go first.
Well, what I've seen already and what the local journalists and radio stations are providing for artists are a voice. I think what's happening right now is people aren't hearing artists or even caring to listen to artists. And there's not many platforms open for artists to voice what they need. And so I think right now, just being that pillar and that opportunity for artists to have a voice is so, so powerful.
Yeah, I would second that. I think the work that you're doing specifically is already amazing, and
Thank you.
Of course, I think continuing to support in that way. And honestly, I think the perspective from you guys at the radio stations would be nice, right? That's kind of a walled garden that a lot of artists don't get to break through and have a full understanding. You know, what drives the selection of certain music or certain songs, and at what time they play during the radio programming, right? All of these things I think are super important that surprisingly most artists don't know. So yeah, I think what you guys are doing great, and I would just continue to amplify that.
I have a second part to it real quick. I feel like the argument that I hear a lot is that Austin doesn't have an industry, but I think here is a really great example because you're just starting out, and I think, Lauren, I've known you for so long, so you are really an example of building connections with artists and sustaining that. So it's really great to see artists like Mama Duke, Zeale, Genuine, Angelica, who's here, Elizabeth Nagavali, like that's huge, just being right off the jump. So I think it's important to really capitalize on what we already have here.
Yes, I agree. Exactly. I think we have such a powerful community. Something that I didn't get to mention yet is we just released letters to the global music industry. And thank you for being here, by the way. But I think right now, you know, society as a whole isn't really aware of the realities of the music industry and what artists are facing. So I think number one, as a community, what we can do is uplift this information, right? Because with any systemic change, there has to be education first and listening. So that's why you play such a huge piece and always have within this community, and that's why Austin is the place for something like this, for a major shift. But it starts with spreading the information and really talking about the truth, the facts, the statistics, because no one could turn away from that, right? Because it's the truth. And I think going about it in a way too, artists aren't looking for a handout, right? We're looking to survive and be supported. And you know what? Artists have supported local economies and economy and culture forever, and they will continue to. And I think that's the plea of the artists, right? They will continue to create whether or not we value them more or not. We will. We're all artists. It's in us, right? And so what I say is, why don't we begin to build a path towards more value? And we could do that ourselves as artists, right? But the first step is really letting people know where we're struggling, right, within the industry. And so that's something that would be really helpful, right? And just all of us being here, what I wanted to do with these meetups that we're gonna have every month is just start the conversation around what's happening and how we can go towards a solution all together. And Austin is the right place for that, because there are so many people in this room that are supporting one another and supporting artists already, and just starting the conversation. So, yeah.
Can I ask a question real quick? This isn't a profound question. It's just I'm truly your biggest fan, Zeale. This is artist to artist. It's like you do so much shit. You're creating, then you fly here, and you have a relationship, and then you do this, and I see you here, you're making cars float and shit on your Instagram.
True. Yeah.
You're tapping into AI, It's like, how do you press the fucking go button on all of it? Like, for artists that are holding on to their babies, I heard you say earlier, like, I used to be a little bit more tight, but now I'm just posting shit and letting the algorithm figure it out. What's the sauce? Just not giving a fuck? Like, help me.
I think that's a great question. And that was something that I struggled with for a long time, and it really is like the art of not giving a fuck, right? Excuse my language. Sorry, I know your kid's here.
It's okay.
But when I graduated from Texas State University, San Marcos. Advertising major, and the most impactful professor I had on me was a woman named Cindy Royal. Amazing professor, and she exposed me to the teachings, and at this time he wasn't who he is now, of Gary Vaynerchuk. And I looked at the format that he had for his success and just really understood the ridiculous passion he had for his product, which at the time was wine. And his success started when he stopped caring so much about what the world reflected back to him about his product. I think that same story is echoed with some of these titans of industry, like Jeff Bezos, right? Like, who believed you're gonna sell books online? What? You're doing what, right? All of these ideas, they start somewhere, and they might sound crazy. And in fact, I might argue the crazier the idea, maybe the more prolific it will be. But that is only successful when it's paired with the focus and mindset of understanding people may not get this right now. They may not get it ever. But it's not your job to care about how people respond specifically to the art that you're putting out there. You are an artist. You create, you make what feels good and feels enriching to you, and you share it with the world. The world's gonna have different perspectives, and I think once you understand that you don't have to be attached to that, then you free yourself. And then you can make cars float and do ridiculous things on social media, etc. It's something I still struggle with daily, to be honest. I'm pretty sure I was talking shit on my Instagram stories earlier, but I think it's important to just do it. It's like muscle memory. It's a left jab. It's a right hook. The more that you do it, the more you train your emotions to care less about the result. And then you just turn into a machine, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you try new things, and you get feedback, and you adjust, and you continue forward. I love everything that you make, so I'm a fan.
Thank you guys so much for all those questions for Z. I want to have time to get to Sue because she's incredible and has so much insight. Thank you, Z, for coming up here and
Of course.
Giving so much insight on your journey and who you are. You've always been so inspiring. So thank you for being a part of this. And Zeale, he also created directed and edited the video that we just posted to social media. That was all Zeale. So thank you for that. You did a great job on that. We might play that again too, since I had a tough time introducing the whole thing. That it really explains where we're at with Prosper in a really strong way. So thank you, Zeale. I'm gonna ask Sue to come up here. Yeah, give her a round of applause, please, for Zeale.
Come on, Sue.
Come on, Sue.